So you think that you have ADHD. Well, the great news is that you're not alone, and I'm really glad that you're here. At the time of filming, it is October. The leaves are looking fantastic here in Pennsylvania, and I thought, what better time to talk about my own ADHD diagnosis journey than ADHD Awareness Month, which is the month of October. So we're going to spill it today because I know that I first started down this rabbit hole of diagnosis by going onto TikTok and finding some really awesome videos of women in particular talking about their experiences and realizing that it checked the boxes for me. And I am so glad that I stuck around to get diagnosed. So we're going to dive into those top 5 reasons why I found getting diagnosed was really, really helpful. And they were some surprising truths. So I hope that you stick around so that way we can dive into it. All right, so here I was sitting on my bed, scrolling through my phone, and I was on TikTok, and I saw these women talking about their experience with ADHD and just how relieved they were after they found more about themselves. And I was like, that's really what I want. Like, I want a roadmap. Like, can I have proof that this is why I'm struggling at age 35? And maybe it would just give me some clarity. I don't know if it was because of my people-pleasing, perfectionistic tendencies. I just wanted an A+ on myself. I don't know. That's my whole vibe growing up. But I was like, there's been something about me that has really brought my self-esteem down, and I just want to understand myself. And why is there so much self-loathing in this gap between who I think I am and who I feel I am? So, getting diagnosed with ADHD is kind of like being handed like a user guide. You're like, here's your brain. It's not flawed. It's not bad. It's just you've been using a different operating system than some of your peers. So, all of my struggles with boring tasks just made so much sense. And then the habit of interrupting people, I think it's been on my report card since I was kindergarten. It's all tied to impulsivity and attention issues. And it's not a sign that I don't care. You're just not talking fast enough. So once I learned about the science of ADHD and really went down that tunnel, it was a total revelation. It gave me a real scientific reason, because I am a data nerd, to be like, this is why I've been struggling. And it just helped me understand myself, and I craved that so much. So instead of telling myself, like, you're so lazy for not doing the dishes, I can now say, okay, this task is boring for my ADHD brain. So how are we going to make it more engaging? Maybe that means putting on a really good audiobook. I do love a great romantasy. Or watching some YouTube on my Echo video. There's so many ways that you can make your tasks more enjoyable, and just removing the shame from some of these tasks. And so I really wanted to understand, why is my brain wired so differently? Now that I had my interest was piqued, and I said, okay, let's read more about ADHD. And I didn't realize that there is a very strong genetic trait with ADHD. And so it made me want to look closer, because the more that I started reading about ADHD and symptoms, I started seeing some symptoms or similarities with my daughter, for instance. And I think that any parent could say, oh, like, they're just like me, they're my mini me, they copy our actions, they live with us. So it's only natural that our kids are mimicking things. But we're talking more than just mimicking. We are talking about understanding how she goes about through her tasks that look very, very familiar. She can hyperfocus on reading. She loves to read. I'm so grateful she's a reader. And I literally have to touch her shoulder to remind her that I'm talking to her, because she will be so lost in a book. But when it comes to asking her to just brush her teeth or go take a shower, these are things that require executive function, and it's really, really hard for her. And I thought to myself, gosh, I think mom said that I did the same thing when I was a kid. And it made me realize that because I'm having a hard time, if I can give her the gift of understanding more about her brain at a young age, maybe I should get tested And then we can see more if it's necessary for her to get tested to have both of us get the help that we need. It turns out that ADHD runs in families, and the genetic link is incredibly strong. Research actually shows that there is a high hereditary rate with ADHD, around 74%. So that means a huge chunk of the risk of ADHD is passed down genetically. Plus, siblings of kids with ADHD are 3 to 4 times more likely to have it too. Sorry, kids. So when I learned that, it felt like this huge weight had been lifted off of our shoulders, because the story in my head shifted from what's wrong with me to, oh, this is just part of our family's wiring. Like, my family inherits bad eyesight or bad cholesterol. We inherit ADHD. I kind of had power in numbers. So we could really have a conversation with my own immediate family, but then also my extended family. And it kind of explained decades of frustration that we had. I think through that is maybe some tough conversations. It can be hard to admit that this was in front of us all along and we didn't catch it. But I've always stressed to my parents, who I have a fantastic relationship with, by the way, that please don't beat yourself up. The research for this didn't really exist publicly. I think some of the first research articles studying like a longitudinal study for women and girls didn't start until the 1970s. And so the data results weren't even in. And so the 90s were like this wild time of the stigma of ADHD, and that it was only kids who couldn't sit still that had it. And so I keep telling my parents, like, please give yourself grace. If you are a parent of adult children and you're watching this and you're nervous that you messed up by not seeing the signs, please be kind to yourself, because it's just, we're all just gaining an understanding and we're here to learn. You can help most by listening and just seeing moving forward how you can work together and understand the shortcomings that your relative with ADHD might be going through, but also how to support them. Now that I did that disclaimer about being kind to your parents, I feel like I can really get into reason number 3 that I received a diagnosis, and this is being pretty vulnerable by sharing this, but it's just my truth. And that is rebuilding my self-esteem from the ground up. Before I got diagnosed, I was a strong student. I was straight A's. I went to a selective university. I was a high-achieving, perfectionist people pleaser of sorts, you could say. And I masked really well. Masking is when you basically do whatever you can to hide the fact that you're struggling. So I looked really great on paper. I looked great on the outside, that I was handling everything, but inside my brain was on fire and I was stressed all the time and super, super hard on myself. So if this sounds familiar, it really can wear on you when you have a whole entire lifetime of saying some negative things to yourself. Like, for instance, my masking really showed itself by completing homework and staying up really, really late or pulling all-nighters. And it extended into my professional career, where I saw my peers finishing their work so much faster and getting through tasks with ease, or pounding out paperwork like it was so easy. And I would end up just taking my work home with me and spending as much time as I needed to on it to accomplish the same goal as my peers and to keep up with them. And it really leads to a lot of negative self-talk, like, why is this taking me so long? I must be stupid, or gosh, it was stupid of me to procrastinate on this thing. I can't believe I did that. I feel like such an idiot. And like, these are the soundtracks that just play over and over in your head. And all of that negative talk, it takes a toll on you. And all the way up through age 35, I just found that I kept jumping from one task to another, just trying to prove that I was great at it, without stopping to really try to take care of myself. And the self-esteem piece really was a red flag for me, because it came to a point where I didn't even recognize what I liked anymore. I didn't recognize who I was, and even though I looked good to other people and I wore many hats, I wasn't paying attention to myself. And so with this knowledge of ADHD and why things were hard, just like in the beginning of this video talking about the women that sharing their own experiences, that it was equal parts relief but also mourning for your past self when you realize, gosh, like I could have had all those years back if I just understood why things were hard, instead of really thinking that it was a personal flaw. So rebuilding my self-worth was a huge reason why I benefited from getting a diagnosis. The fourth reason for getting a diagnosis is a bit of a doozy, but I think it's a really important one to discuss, especially after you start reading more about ADHD and learning more about the disorder beyond just the stereotypical hyperactivity. And that is comorbidity of ADHD. There's a strong connection between ADHD and a lot of other disorders such as anxiety and depression, those two being the most common. So ADHD has a friend usually, which explains a lot because looking back on my own experience, I think I've always had anxiety. I think that I also have had spurts of depressive modes. And whenever they happened when I was a kid, I would definitely talk to my parents about it and counselors. I think my lowest point was freshman year in high school. There's a lot of change going on, and that's exactly what my parents and I kind of chalked it up to be. We were like, typical teenage hormones, you're just trying to get used to the new high school routine and it'll blow over. And sure enough, like after I, got through a really tough test period or project period, things would calm down and I would feel okay again. But really, I think it was the trifecta of so much anxiety resulting from my ADHD masking that, how much longer can I hold it together and keep this under wraps? I don't want anyone to find out how long I had to study in order to get the same results and the same grades. It wears on you. And unfortunately, there is an alarming rate of suicide and self-harm among kids and teens that are diagnosed with ADHD. There was an Australian study that actually showed that students who are diagnosed with ADHD are 11 times more likely to inflict harm on themselves or think suicidal thoughts or attempt suicide. 11. So that to me was a huge red flag. The bottom line is that regardless of how scary it is, I think it is such an important thing to be aware of with our kids that certainly teens are at risk of suicide and suicidal thoughts, especially with all the changes in their lives. But with the overwhelm, with the impulsive thoughts that those of us with ADHD struggle with, it's something to really watch out for. And I knew with my self-esteem piece that it can really lead to some nasty rabbit holes of depressive thoughts, and I also wanted to be aware of it and hyper vigilant of it as a parent. If the cycle of battling with anxiety and ADHD and depression sounds familiar, please, if you're comfortable, share your own experiences in the comments. It is such an amazing way to help others in this community, and I really hope that we can all work together and be kind to each other in the comments and sharing all of your experiences. And if you need help, please make sure that in the US here, you can dial 988 and there is always going to be a way to get the help that you need. And I hope that you're okay. The final reason that I decided to get a diagnosis was I think I was just so tired of white-knuckling it through life. I think it was when I was reading a book by Brene Brown that there was this realization that I do this toxic trait where I just stay busy. If I just stay busy and hop from one activity to the next, which is where my hyperactivity gets me in trouble, that I'll be fine. Just stay busy. But when you stay busy like that and look like you're accomplishing everything, you're running away from actually taking care of yourself. And so I was tired. I was just tired and I wanted to have clarity. And that was one of the main reasons that I needed to seek this diagnosis and why it was important to me. I think there's so many great tips and tricks out there for productivity, but it doesn't always help those of us with ADHD. It's just buy a calendar, buy a planner. In a way, it was almost like, have bad eyesight, just squint harder. It's not going to really help you. So I really just wanted some strategies that were designed for my brain and not a neurotypical one. So once I had that official diagnosis, I had the words and the research to search for specific ADHD-friendly strategies. And I learned things like body doubling, where you work alongside someone to stay on task. It's easier to clean a room when you have a partner. I discovered how using a timer can sometimes create urgency for me, and you can kind of build routines. I also just recently read Atomic Habits and talking about habit stacking. There's so many different ways that we can find strategies that help our ADHD. The diagnosis really opened the door to professional support for me too. It was my first step in actually calling a counselor for help in order to get the diagnosis. Yes, I had to call someone and schedule. Sometimes that executive function is really hard for me. But once that process started and I had a set time each week that I checked in with my counselor, it was a way for us to pinpoint not only my ADHD, but actually the anxiety that I have that needed the most treatment. Once I had those under control, I was no longer at the mercy of like the chaos that's bouncing around in my brain. So it really gave me access to a whole world of resources that support me that I didn't even know existed. So I'm not trying harder anymore. I'm just trying differently. So if there's anything to take away from this video, please know that for me, the diagnosis wasn't a label, it was freedom. It was really the moment that I stopped blaming myself and started to understand myself. It changed my relationship completely with my past and my present and hopefully my future. So if this hit home for you, I really encourage you to go seek out your own answers. You deserve having that instructional manual on yourself because you are beautiful, you are brilliant, and there's nothing wrong. It's just information about your map and your brain. I'll see you in the next video, and thank you so much for stopping by.